Hey, it's the first day of summer, and for me, it's not possible to celebrate without metal. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, JonBarbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's album art of the week. It's the weekend. That means we got new metal albums dropping on us, and I'm bringing you my 5 favorite. But as always, before we jump into the top 5, we always talk about the big bands that released albums this week, so let's do it. First up, there's a new record from Malevolence called Where Only the Truth Is Spoken. I love these guys because they're a core band that hasn't forgotten where the core in metalcore came from. That's right, hardcore. Y'all let me know if any of y'all are going to Summer Slaughter, because I'm certainly thinking about it. I'm thinking about catching some Malevolence. And next up, Cryptopsy dropped on us an Insatiable Violence. This one's killer, y'all, and I did analysis of the lyrics on this week's podcast, and I ran them by Matt from Cryptopsy. We'll have the link to that at the end. Make sure you get this one. And lastly, before we do the top 5, I guess this counts. Ailstorm's got a new record called the Thunderfist Chronicles. Let's do the top 5 now. Coming in at number 5, Witherer, Shadow Without a Horizon, black metal out of Canada, and this is one of the more unsettling black metal albums I've heard this year. That album title is apt, Shadow Without a Horizon, because it sounds like falling through nothing. There's no light, you can't see anything, certainly not something that you could grab and get purchase on. You've been falling for so long that it's maddening. And the thoughts in that madness become the music, and the cadence of those thoughts becomes the rhythm. This is certainly not a pleasant record to listen to, but it is a unique one. If you like your metal abrasive and persistently haunting, a little bit cosmic, you'll find catharsis here. Coming in at number 4, Haggus Destination Extinction, Grindcore out of California, put an infectiously groovy riff over a D beat and the most incomprehensible vocals you can imagine, and that's something approximating the sound here. The riffs are so catchy and so energetic, so much fun, and yet the vocals are quite off-putting. But then you might get a guitar lead that's got sort of this catchy punk flavor that's friendly and inviting, so you don't know which way to go while you're listening to it, but you do want to headbang. And at the end of listening to this one, I felt like after a hard workout where it's like, wow, that was really good. I don't want to do it again until tomorrow. Tomorrow, I definitely want to do it again. Coming in at number 3, Mugshot. All the Devils Are Here, hardcore out of California. And I touched on this earlier with Malevolence. Let's expand on it here. As metalcore has gotten more and more pop-oriented, it should come as little surprise that there are bands looking to fill the vacuum left by metalcore's forgotten roots of hardcore. Enter Mugshot with a sprinkling of modern and extreme metal influences to keep the record fresh throughout the runtime. The hardcore is front and center. The dissatisfaction and the vitriol are palpable. And you know, for the longest time, the best recipe for heaviness has been scathing social commentary with chunky guitars, and that's the recipe here. It doesn't get much heavier than this. Coming in at number 2, Imha Tarakat, Confessing Darkness, black metal out of Germany. Did I pronounce that correctly? Text is on the screen just in case, and as always, every band's Bandcamp will be linked in the description. Now there's a valuable lesson for other bands to learn from this record. Can't help but think about all the progressive metal bands out there. They've got access to synthesizers and every digital guitar tone and effect under the sun. It's like they've got an infinite color palette to paint with, and yet they choose to paint the same patterns over and over again. And even with all of that at their disposal, they often all sound the same to me. But you got this band with a very limited color palette. They're only painting in gray and black and brown. But with that limited color palette, they're making much more varied sounds and moods. They understand that brushstroke techniques can make for different images. And the colors, despite being dark, are not muted because of quantizing and over compression. This is a furious record, and it doesn't sound frigid like all of their black metal peers. The vocalist doesn't have this put on fry scream. Instead, it's a furious bark. And that's what I love about black metal. In a sea of analogous sounding bands, you've got some bands like this one that sound not only much different from their black metal peers, but their peers in metal, period. You won't hear another album sounds like this year. Now, before we do number one, it's time for this month's book recommendation. And given the current political climate and world events, I've been experiencing a lot of deja vu lately.
Deja vu.
It feels just like it did 22 years ago. High school, early college age Barbas was being sold, or rather propagandized, about the Iraq war, and we were told under every outlet that this is something we got to do. Some of us said, I don't feel like this is necessary. I feel like we should focus on Afghanistan, the people that were actually involved in 9/11. But no, we were told, oh, it's important. We got to do this one. And also during this time, General Wesley Clark said that there were 7 countries that the government wanted to overthrow.
And by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Well, guess what? There's 20 years later, only one more country left on that list, and here we are being told that we have to go to war with that country. I distinctly remember the same arguments from 20 years ago. I distinctly remember Benjamin Netanyahu coming before our legislator, and his proof that Iran was about to have a bomb was a Looney Tunes picture of a bomb with it filled in a little bit, kind of like a fundraiser where people are saying, we've got this much more to go, except it was, they've got this much more to go before they've got a bomb. That was his presentation. That was his respect for our level of intellect. So when I'm asked what radicalized me, that's what radicalized me. Being told lies to justify my country going to war for generations. And most of my friends and family that served in that war are no longer with me. Most of them, they died after they got back, and that's the most tragic part. So that's what radicalized me. Back then, there was these arguments about going to war for oil, and while that is quite cynical, I at least understand that strategically. Perhaps not morally, but at least strategically, oil is the lifeblood of the economy, so I understand why people might want to do that, even though I disagree with it. But when I started looking into the things that my government has done in the past, and I realized we didn't just go to war for oil, we went to war on behalf of a fruit company. We overthrew governments on behalf of a banana company. Do we really need bananas? Things like that is what radicalized me. And one of the books that helped me learn what actually happened, not just what the media told me, not the stenographers of the intelligence agencies, was Lords of Secrecy by Scott Horton. This is one of the most important books in the anti-war movement. Now, I may not agree with Scott on all of his political opinions, but when it comes to foreign policy, this guy does not miss. I highly recommend Lords of Secrecy if you want to learn how the sausage is made. I've got an affiliate link in the description below so that this would be an easy find for you. I highly recommend Lords of Secrecy. And now that I've made this episode a total bummer, let's bring the mood back up and do number one. Coming in at number one, Black Path. with Of Paint and Ash, death metal out of Greece. This one blew me away. My first impression was of the epic, and I mean epic, lead guitars, the harmonies, the melodies, the compositions of it, and the rhythm guitars. They're borderline tech death, except for far more musical, not so mechanical and efficient, but they are quite impressive, borderline prog, but that keeps it death metal. And then the death metal vocals are nice and chunky and rumbly. However, every now and again, not very often, but every now and again, there's some clean vocals, and those really remind me of Trivium's clean vocals. So that's cool. And then one song has a saxophone on it. Not a Rivers of Nile saxophone, an abrasive saxophone. This album is so impressive. It's the total package, and that's why it's number one. I highly recommend Black Path. We're not done yet because we still got a fun dealer's choice and album art of the week. My dealer's choice this week is Helm's Deep, Chasing the Dragon, heavy power metal out of Florida. Now, y'all know me, I don't like power metal. I rarely ever pick power metal. It's against my proclivities. I'm more of a death metal guy. I find it quite kitschy, quite cheesy, quite campy. But one thing that I've realized over the years is all metal is kitschy, cheesy, and campy. Every genre has its caricature. Thrash metal has its boozed up burnouts. Black metal has its edgelord basement dwellers. And me, as a death metal fan, I'm a horror film nerd. You know, it doesn't get much cheesier than slasher films and zombie apocalypses, but we all just choose our lanes. Now, this record is very cheesy, but it's so good, despite my revulsion at the cheesiness, it won me over, because I just could not stop having fun. This album sounds like a love letter to traditional heavy metal. These dudes love guitar, and all the lyrics about dragons and wizards and vampires and kung fu, that's just window dressing over the vehicle of a crazy good guitar record. There's a couple of progressive passages here that really let you know that these dudes have instrumental prowess that they're barely showing you any of, because they just love metal so much that it winds up sounding like this. My favorite album art this week comes from Hyro, Wield, post-metal out of Philadelphia, and in a sea of standard heavy metal album covers, this is the one that stood out. Yet another week where nearly every album cover looked the same to me. Muted, oil painting color scheme, some kind of monster or castle or Grim Reaper, quite busy, incomprehensible band logos. This is the one that stands out. It's simple, it's clean, it's effective, it generates curiosity. Who is this veiled woman that they made a statue of? She's got a globe in one hand and a snake in the other. Why? The yellow really pops on the gray color scheme. Plus, I just really dug the vibe of this post-metal from Hyro, so make sure you check out Wield. Hey, you made it to the end, which means you're a real one, because that's the best thing you can do to help out heavy metal philosophy. And I'm quite impressed that you made it to the end after I got political for a second. So thank you very much for that. I do highly recommend that book, Lords of Secrecy by Scott Horton. But if you want something not political, keep it metal. Did you catch this week's podcast? Because I got to sit down with Matt McGachy from Cryptopsy.
I had the most vivid dream of a person fixing a machine all day and working on it, and it's hot and they're sweating. And then at night, they strap themselves into this machine and it tortures them and they love it. And as it's torturing them, they're like, oh, how can I make this more pleasurable? So the next day they wake up and they fix the machine again, implicating these changes, these alterations to make their torturous experience even more exquisite.
And we analyzed the lyrics on their new record, An Insatiable Violence, together. That's kind of cool. Y'all are quite used to me analyzing the philosophy of records, but this time I got to do it with the man himself, and he was able to tell me what I got right and what I got wrong. So if that's interesting to you, just click right here and you can catch that episode of the podcast, JonBarbas-shop.fourthwall.com, for merch, links in the description. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.